Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios. It's Football at 4.
And Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds broadcast. It's brought to you by the Gallery Bar, Book, and Games, Ocean Casino Resort. All football season will be there on Mondays. Cheer your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Go to the Gallery in Ocean Casino Resort. Go for the win. For more info, visit theoceanac.com. You must be 21 or older to play. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Weather in the forecast. Can we see some new roles? What is it going to be like in the building? And how good is this Jaguars team? We bring in Adam Caplan from InsideTheBirds.com and the Inside the Birds podcast, the Inside the Birds pre- and post-game show on all the Inside the Birds social media platforms. Adam Caplan joins me on this Friday edition of Football at 4. Welcome back, Adam. How are you?
Be with you. Yeah, look, we our podcast, Mike, we dropped our preview today. And we also, by the way, a very amazing interview and a discussion with former Eagles quarterbacks coach John DeFilippo for our special subscribers for our Patreon page. Just go to our patreon.com/InsideTheBirds, and you could be a member. And we're not, by agreement, we can't put it on YouTube. So only our subscribers get that. And it was unbelievable. It was an hour, and it was the best thing we've probably ever done. Pretty special interview, and John revealed a lot of stuff that most people don't know about the 17 team. Pretty amazing discussion with him. And then we got one coming up with a former NFL defensive coordinator who's going to break down the Vic Fangio defense that the Eagles are running. It's the 34 defense and two deep safeties and so forth. So we're going to get that going. So again, you got to be a subscriber to that, but. Overall, Mike, yeah, we're looking forward to this game. We broke it down today, and we had a lot of interesting stuff on today's show.
Well, obviously, there's a lot of interesting things about this game and this week. And one of them, let's start with some injury issues here. Boston Scott out this week, what that might mean for the run game. I know he hasn't had a huge role in the offense, but this week might be interesting with the way that Jacksonville chooses to try to defend here. So the Eagles have 4 running backs active on the roster. What can we see at the running back position this week, and how much of a factor is the run game against a very stout Jacksonville front 7?
Yeah, as we speak here, the injury report isn't out, but Nick Sirianni, the head coach, pretty much confirmed it early today to the media that Boston Scott won't be available due to a rib injury. So that leaves them 3 running backs, only 53. Of course, they have 52 players, but Trey Sermon would be that guy. So I expect him to be active for this game. I don't know how much he would play because Kenny Gainwell's got a pretty secure job as a
Avonte Maddox, by the way, has been ruled out.
Oh, is he? Is he? Okay, is that out?
This is the second week in a row that we've had the live injury update here that Avonte Maddox has been ruled out for the game. Yes, he has an ankle problem. Boston Scott is out. Yeah. There you go.
Yes, all right. So A.J. Brown, who had a child, he's back. Dickerson will play. Milton Williams will play. Miles Sanders will play. So they all took all the reps. They took all their first-team reps today. Boston Scott did not practice, is out, and Avonte Maddox with the ankle. So, okay, slot corner is interesting. Zach McPherson has always been the emergency slot corner. Doesn't mean he'll be the main slot corner. They may divide that up a little bit. And also, by the way, C.J. Gardner-Johnson could absolutely do that because he did that for the Saints. So it's not good. And we're going to get to the weather in a second. So the Jaguars might run what we call a spread West Coast. Doug is running, I'm told, essentially the same offense he ran in Philly in 16 and 17. A lot of 11 personnel, a lot of 3 receivers. And, I'm also told Zay Jones didn't look good for him. He hurt his ankle, I think, late in Wednesday's practice. He didn't work yesterday. He was not scheduled to work today. I didn't get their injury report. So barring a recovery, a very quick recovery, he won't be available. So that does hurt him. They are a 3-receiver team. That would hurt them. But Avonte Maddox here, that's disappointing. Boy, I talked to someone earlier this week. They didn't seem to be very concerned about it. That's a little surprising that he won't be able to play. So Zach McPherson can do that. Josiah Scott can do that, by the way. One of the two. In fact, Josiah Scott was technically the guy last year. An emergency, but this year it could be McPherson or Scott. It doesn't really matter because just Chauncey Gardner-Johnson can do that. It normally would be a big deal. Had this been last year, Mike, this would be a real problem.
Yeah,
They have much better
obviously
depth
this is
this
kind
year.
of on the fly here. We're just getting that breaking news because that Avonte Maddox is not going to play. And, they
Yeah.
have been so solid in the secondary with those three guys. And then one of the big storylines before they got Bradbury, Adam, was if somebody got hurt, where's the depth? Do we feel like they have enough depth to be able to handle not having Maddox this week against this particular offense? This is probably, Adam, the best quarterback they're going to see so far this year.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Well, wait, you mean to this point?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, Trevor Lawrence has played well. Look, he had a very disappointing rookie season, to say the least. The coaching was not very good. Bad situation. We had a great note. We have some incredible notes on Lawrence today from our Jaguar sources on Lawrence, how he's being coached and who's doing it and how it's being done. But he's definitely improved. There's no doubt about it. And he has to keep doing it. By the way, not that anyone's calling them a favorite after 3 weeks. It would be ridiculous to win the AFC South, but they're in the thick of it. No doubt. It's the NFL's worst division. So, the thing that you worry about, though, is because it's going to rain on Sunday, it's inevitable. We could just mention that now. I always look at the hour-by-hour stuff. Right now, unless that clears up, which is highly unlikely based on the latest weather pattern, because it's all the hurricane rain from down south, you better be able to run the football, as John DeFilippo told us when we did our interview with him this week. Because we asked him specifically about that. What happens if it rains on Sunday? Because you got to have a run game. John's a big passing game guy. He's like, you got to have a run game because the ball's slippery, and also turnovers could be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, we know with the rain possibilities there, the team, one of the problems that they've had is that 4-minute back, that closer guy. Is that something that you would agree with and that they need to address?
Yeah, so we were told in August they were looking at a back with size, so their 53-man roster. They considered some of the veterans were out there, but a lot of them had injury problems. So what they did is they took someone younger. They claimed Trey Sermon off waivers for the Niners, who was a third-round pick. It was certainly a disappointment for them. And sometimes he doesn't run with enough power. The knock on him, despite his size, 225, you like to see him run with more power, not be so finesse. But the question will be, if they get a lead in the fourth quarter, is that a time to play him? And yes, it would be, because you can't do that with Gainwell. Boston Scott had done some of that this season, not all of it. He and Sanders kind of had taken that role. And now you look at it, this is a perfect way to evaluate this player, Sermon, in that specific role. It's called the closer, or the 4-minute back. This is a great role for him. And quite frankly, let's not forget, the Niners last year, when they drafted him, most people don't realize this, he was drafted to be their starter. He had a bad training camp last year. They went with Elijah Mitchell, who took the job, was a 6-rounder, and they stuck with Mitchell, and he was really good as a rookie.
Let's get to this Jacksonville team and kind of get your thoughts on how good this team is. And is this a good spot for them? They hadn't won for 17 games in a row on the road. They did that last week. They dominated in the game. Now they got to travel on the road again. How good's this team, and can they give Philadelphia a game in this spot?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, they have one of the best young rosters in the National Football League. Some veterans, but mostly 3, 4, 5 years in at the most. A couple guys older, like Marvin Jones, Brandon Sheriff, Cam Robinson is their left tackle. But they've got a great mixture of young veterans and younger players, and they've been very well coached. There are some people around the league really question the staff that Doug put together, but I know they're only 2-1. Let's not put them in the playoffs yet. Remember, the game they did lose, they lost to Washington. They had a brief lead. So in week 1, that game was on the road. And the key here is, though the running game isn't great, James Robinson has recovered very nicely from his torn Achilles. He's their lead back. Etienne's their changeup, somewhat of a third down back. Travis Etienne has kind of struggled to establish a role there. They're trying to figure it out with him. The issue that they have, we're told, though, their pass protection. See, what's happening here is they're shortening up the drops, Mike, for Trevor Lawrence. And that really helps him not turn it over, not get in harm's way, and it helps their line, which is not great. It makes their line better than it really is. It's really not that good, we're told. It's just he's getting the ball out. This is coaching. This is the way you're doing it. This is the way really Washington should do with Carson Wentz, because that would help him, as you saw too deep of drops, and he got sacked too much. So that helps to get the pass rush. So that's what's been happening there. And their defense is really athletic, really long and athletic, and mostly pretty young. And they've played very well. They shut out the Colts. I know the Colts were without 2 of their starting receivers. They They crushed the Chargers last week. I get that the quarterback, Herbert, was coming back from a significant injury, but still, they've outscored their opponents 62-10 the last 2 weeks. So they're playing good football. This should be – I know that weather games sometimes are like crazy. Things happen which you don't expect. But in a normal weather game, I think this could be a fairly tight game. I would pick the Eagles no matter what because they're the better team. But I think they're absolutely capable of giving the Eagles a good game here.
Yeah, I guess the big storyline in this game has now just turned into Avonte Maddox being out for the game because, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm looking at the Wednesday injury report that I got emailed. He was not on the Wednesday. So this must have been something that happened during the week here, right?
Yes, it did. But the where we I don't know if it was an ankle, wasn't it? Was it an ankle?
He is out with an ankle.
So, the my understanding was he tweaked it. They're hoping the swelling would go down. I guess it didn't because he didn't work today. Because if he would have worked, he would have played. So he didn't work today. That's a bad sign. Hopefully this doesn't linger. You know, they need him. He's super important to what they do. One of the top slot corners in the league. And they're not like Josiah Scott to me, Mike, would be a better choice than McPherson. I just think he's better for that. That's why the Jaguars drafted him, I'm told, 2 years ago. And, I know he played some safety in training camp for the Eagles. He was sort of transferring to safety as a backup safety. But remember, they addressed the position. So they'll be okay. But it just you'd rather have that. And hopefully for their sake, both he and Boston Scott will be back next week when they travel to Arizona.
All right. Adam Caplan, of course, Football at 4 here on the Sports Bash Live, Eagles and Jacksonville. Real quick from you, obviously, you've been around this team for a while. The emotion of Doug coming back and just what do you think the atmosphere is going to be like? I'm not suggesting booze. I'm just saying a weird energy of, this Eagles fan base is flying high about their team, and then you got this guy who's won your only Super Bowl coming in. Yeah. There's a weird dynamic there.
It is because it was 10 years ago. Different story. I can't remember when Andy came back with Kansas City. I know the Chiefs beat them here, but this is kind of weird. Yeah, as you said, Mike, it's their only Super Bowl win. So, but he's really liked here. He'll get cheered. I expected heavy cheers, maybe a smattering of boos because that's life. But it's going to be fun, and I just wish the weather would hold up, Mike. I doubt it based on the latest weather pattern. These hurricane rains, they sweep through for 2 days, and then it leaves. And by midweek, I think next week it's supposed to be really nice. But man, I just wish the weather would be better because I'd like to see what would happen because Jaguars, man, are a fun football team. Because they're in a very small media market, no one really knows them naturally. Yeah. But man, they've been playing really well.
It's funny you say that, Adam, because earlier this week I was talking to John McMullen, and I had said, you think Doug is appreciative of the fact that he only has to talk to 3 people a day as opposed to 33?
Yeah, I know. That's the way it is. They're very small. One paper, Times Union, 1010XXL I've been on many times over the years. That's one sports station. I know John Osher, who writes for their website. He actually used to work for a company I owned years ago. That's it. And Brian Sexton does a lot of their website stuff. Used to be the radio announcer. They got a very small media contingent, probably the smallest in the country.
Yeah.
And I don't because we have our pregame show. I'm unable to get to the games, but I wonder how many people from the press corps from Jacksonville are coming. Maybe 5. And look, they had the Hurricanes too, so people had to evacuate. Though, from what I understand, today was actually much better. The winds were subdued. And thank God, because obviously that area got hit, particularly Fort Myers, Florida.
Yeah. All right, Adam Caplan, don't forget the pregame show, Inside the Birds, pre and post. They'll have it before and after Eagles and Jaguars, and then Football at 4 next week. Get you a reaction to the Eagles and Jags, and then Adam will be back on Friday to get you ready for Eagles and Cardinals right here on Football at 4 on the Sports Bash. Good times, Adam. See you next week.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right, Adam Caplan here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN Football at 4.